Thoughts?
Yeah, so I would say that if the atmosphere is toxic, it's perfectly okay to leave. There's a lot of, I guess, nuances to the question. So so there are a lot of times when it's okay to leave, but you have to ask, I guess, starting, what is it, or what are the reasons that you are at the school, right? Are you trying to become a competitor yourself? Are you just there for social reasons? Are you there for just to get in shape? So all these things matter and kind of will direct you to where you need to go. I also think that it's very important to have an open line with your coach. So you should be able to go and address these issues with your coach. If your coach is a good coach, he should, be able to talk to you and explain to you why things are, because your perception is not always what reality is, but sometimes it is. So it's good to have that open line of communication with your coach. And if your coach is a real a-hole and is like, no, you're a wuss, suck it up, then clearly that wouldn't be the place for you, and you should seek out and find another school. John?
Yeah, I would say communication is key. You should always be communicating with a coach, or the highest level coach that you can, and just kind of bounce ideas and how you're feeling off of that person. And just as Keith said, if their reaction and responses to your concerns, and what you're talking to them about is just like they're just not even taking it serious and putting you down, then right then and there that how you're being treated. So that'll help you make your decision, or it could possibly be a situation of miscommunication. That's why communication is key in this case. But you should always be looking at like the benefits and what you're getting out of the situation. Is that what you're getting? Some folks might want to be a training partner to all the elite competitors and black belts. So their goal might be to like, all right, one day I want to be that, so I'm just going to continuing to put myself into the situation to get all those minutes and rounds in. However, if that's not your thing and you just want to kind of do jiu-jitsu in a happy place, in a happy environment, then you got to look at the situation. Are you happy in that environment? And in this case, it does not sound like that. So talk to the coach, see what's going on. If that's not being received well, then I think that in this case it does sound like a toxic environment where it's not fun. Martial arts is supposed to be fun. So this situation and this question is a great question, because it's always going to be nuanced. So that's why there's not one single answer, I think, in this case. Communication and just weighing the positives to the negatives. But at the end of the day, you just have to ask yourself, like, are you like every time you come to this place, does it make you happier? If not, then you probably shouldn't go there anymore.
Yeah.
I think the part, can you talk a little bit more about training methodology? Because how we talked about it a little bit, but they were saying that they feel like they're just a training body, right? And you see this sometimes in MMA gyms, right? Where, especially big MMA gyms. So can you talk about what that is? And just to preface, I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm saying that it's actually a training methodology, but that might be one that works for you, or it might be one that doesn't work for you. For example, like if I'm a freshman and I go to a collegiate wrestling program, right? That first year, I might not be getting a lot of assistance. I might just be getting beat up by the varsity guys. And then after I'm still going to get better just by being in that room. Some programs are going to operate like that, and other programs are going to operate like they're going to come in and they're going to be like very personal with you. They're going to try to make you improve technically. Yep. But there's been good guys coming from both kinds of training environments.
Firsthand experience that I had when I started to take my MMA training to that next level, to the pro level, and go down to 495 and train with UFC fighters, up and coming professional fighters with notable records, and I am an amateur fighter. So at that point, I'm literally just a body in the room. What that means is like I'm good enough to be a good training partner for the top guys. I'm tough enough to where I can keep getting up and keep getting punched. I can keep on ticking, take a licking and keep on ticking. But that whole time while I was in that situation, I wasn't like thinking to myself, and I'm not saying everybody should adopt this same mentality. I'm just talking about how certain people think in these situations. That whole time, I wasn't really like, oh, I'm not getting catered to. I'm not like, I don't have somebody to beat up on. The whole time I was like, okay, I'm actually able to survive. I'm trying to look for little data points that I can keep like, hanging my, just getting motivated on. Like, I made it all the way through today without getting taken down. Or I got taken down, but they could not hold me down. I got up every single time, counting my little scores. And, over the years, I became one of the top dogs in the room, but it took a lot of butt whoopings and stuff like that, and butt whoopings where they're videotaping and putting up like, hey, I just got a great training session ready for my fight, and I'm like, damn, that's me getting dropped with a body shot, but it's like, I've been in that situation and I looked across the room and just see, people cracking. I've seen a guy who got all the way to the Ultimate Fighter finale series and did his training camp at Lloyd Irvin's for the first time, and I could see him crack over the 6 weeks, and he went out there and laid an egg during his fight because that environment just was not right for him at that time,
Right.
So that's my anecdotal experience, with being a body in the room and then kind of using it to overcome and then being one of the main ones in the room.
Right. Yeah. So absolutely. Sometimes, in everybody's own personal, training could be different. There are people that they like a more technical environment. There's people that thrive in a banging environment. Like you'll get a lot of wrestlers that come in and they just want to bang and learn from that. And you can get good that way, but not everybody can. Some people, they need the technical improvements. And not to keep bringing it back, but I mean, it really does bring it back to you really need an open line with that coach, because your coach should be able to explain to you, at least, even if he only has the one methodology, he should at least be able to explain to you like why we're doing what we're doing. And you have to maybe in that situation, the athlete has to earn his way up, and sometimes that's the case. And if that's not the environment that you want, or that's not what you feel is right for your training, and I hate to, sometimes you want to put it on the athlete. Sometimes the athlete's right, sometimes the athlete's wrong. So it's really a tough judgment call. So from just the pure training part of it, if it's not right for you, then you have to leave. As far as like, you have to love what you're doing, and you have to love the training. That's the most important part. Like a lot of people think like, oh, I'm just kind of come in and train and I'm going to do my fight later on down the line, and I'll be, that's where I really need to perform. But like, I just love to fight. But if you don't love the training, like, you'll never get good. And so if your environment is toxic and you can't, then there is a point where you're going to have to leave. And it sucks, because the longer you're in a school, you do develop relationships with people and become friends with people over time. But you have to ask what are your goals and what are you trying to do, because sometimes the right move is to leave. Sometimes it's not. So
I think those are two important factors, right? So you said that, do you like the training environment and can you achieve your goals? Right? So I think that those two things are those are two separate factors. Like if both of those are negative, like example one is like, you sort of don't like the place. There's been times when I've hated training, like in the middle of, it's May and you're training for the Worlds, and your fingers hurt, you have injuries and you're just coming in, you hate it, okay? Right. But you know that you're progressing towards your goal. So you at least check off one of the two boxes. But if you hate both, like if you look around and you're like, I'm trying to achieve X, nobody around me has achieved X, it doesn't look like anyone else other than me wants to achieve X, the coach doesn't really want to be invested in X, and also I hate these guys. Then you should get out, right? Then there's
that's kind of what we meant by toxic, right?
Yeah.
Like everything is bad, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, if they're getting you good and that's your goal and all you care about is getting good, then you can get past being friends with people.
Yeah, you have to weigh that, right? If it's one or the other, then you weigh it. You're like, man, I love these people, but the training is not what I want. Or you say, I love the training, but I hate the people, right? Or I hate the environment. Or I hate the training, the training methodology. They make me drill for 3 hours and I don't want to do that. Obviously there you have to be careful, like maybe you just don't like it, but you need it. you know,
Right.
but, you know, you have to sort of, you should compare yourself in both those two things. And if both of them are negative, you're out for sure. If only one is, then you have to sort of think about what you're trying to do.
Right.
You know, what's your reasoning for getting involved
Asking
in
the
sport?
coach questions too, sometimes you can learn a lot from it. Like, especially if you don't like the training, you know, like I don't like drilling 3 hours. If you have that conversation with your coach, that might be the instance where it's like, hey, you don't like it, but you need it. And you can kind of understand that just by talking to the coach. So you get a lot of peace of mind that can help you like rationalize your thoughts and understand your thoughts, you know, and help you deal with it a little bit more. But, you know, you can really simplify it and boil it down to like, you know, do you like it, and is it helping, like, do you at least like it, or is it at least helping you get towards your goals? You know, like if it's, you know, if you have one of those elements in it, then you can at least like, you know, really start to look at it and dig into it and really try to make that decision, because depending on where you're at in your life, you know, you might just want to be more happy than trying to achieve your competitive goals, you know? So, but if you're, you know, if you're in that competitive state where it's like, no, this is my window right now. So you might be all about, I need to achieve my goals. I don't care if I got to walk through hell, you know, soaked in gasoline to get to the gym,
Right.
you know, and then, you know, get yelled at all day. As long as I'm getting closer to the goals, I'll do it, you know, so.
So I think those are, I think we have it split into your competitors or not competitors. So I was just thinking, what are some bad reasons why people switch that you think are inappropriate, right? So I have one that like belts. I think switching because the instructor won't promote you, I am very against that, but I've never been in a situation where I felt that was a issue. But I could see, but I have heard about it. You know, somebody's like, "Hey, why'd you leave?" And it's, I left because my instructor wouldn't give me my purple belt, or my instructor wouldn't give me my brown belt. I think that's strange. But
Yeah,
what are your
I mean,
thoughts?
I would agree with that one because clearly there probably is a reason, and you might want to address the reason and then get promoted, you know, whether it's technical reason or whatever. I think that there are, you know, there are cases. This is a tough one, but sometimes athletes, there's like a weird thing where you'll see like a coach does a lot for certain athletes, and this has happened over and over, and you've seen it across many different schools, and you know, because all the coaches talk to each other, and you'll see times where like a guy will take somebody in and, you know, give them all kinds of opportunities, and then they'll leave, but not like they're necessarily leaving to go to because this school couldn't get them to the level that they wanted. They'll go to like just another school that's kind of like a parallel movement, and you're like, just because they perceive like the grass is greener, like maybe, you know, I don't know, like one of the top athletes is training at this school, so they go there, and then some other top athlete comes up, so they switch schools again. And you see that a lot where guys will bounce around, and those guys that bounce around, they never really get good. It's like they just keep hopping from school to school to school. So I think that would be
Yeah, I would say exactly. In the day and age of like, you know, social media, a lot of content is out there. We get to see how everybody's training. We get to see like how all the notable big names are training. So, of course, leaving because your instructor won't promote you is a very bad reason to leave a gym.
Right.
Another bad reason I would say is like, you know, if one of these notable names, kind of as Keith just touched on, moves near, you know, opens up a gym near you, you know, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna leave my gym to go train with Black Belt world champion. I just know that'll be better. Like just making a decision just based off of because you want to go train with X, I think is a bad reason to leave. You know, all of a sudden just getting a hair up your ass and wanting to go do a training camp for the Worlds, you know, in California or something at a really big gym, you know, at a big name, you know, just for the sake of doing that, I think is, you know, it's not good. I might be a little old school in that regard, but, you know, if there's a call to action for you to leave, like we were discussing earlier, those are good. But, you know, this is why this is a nuanced and good question. But
So, follow-up question. Example of when it was good to leave. Okay to leave. I have one.
All right, go ahead.
So I know, so girlfriend and boyfriend enroll at a school together. instructor of the gym starts hitting on the girl, right? And then the girl breaks up with the guy and dates the instructor. Obviously, the now ex-boyfriend isn't going to like to train at that place. So I think that's
that
pretty
falls
obvious.
in line with like a toxic environment, you know. You really got to be careful that, you know, people that teach you are going to be in positions of power, you know. So if you perceive yourself getting taken advantage of in any type of way, or people around you getting taken advantage of in any type of way, that would be like, you know, a light bulb to say, you know, something's up here for sure, you know, anything like that.
There are also cases where, you know, there's schools. I mean, not everybody is up and up, and I mean, you'll find that there's schools out there that are run by, I'm not calling anybody out, but they're run by very low level, and they're not really in the game of producing competitors at all. And maybe your goal is to be a competitor, and you go to one of these schools, and you can usually tell pretty early on, you know. Like,
I don't think, you think that a new person can tell right away?
A brand new person probably would be really, really hard.
By the time you can realize, it's too late usually.
So I would say that, like, but it happens, and there are people that they realize, like, you get a wrestler that goes in, and the wrestler's just beating, like, the brown belts, and, you know, and you're like, oh. And then, you know, and you leave. I think that's perfectly acceptable time to leave. Like, you realize that they're not going to get you where you want to go. Yeah, clearly, if you have brand new white belt, you're going to have a hard time telling. So that's why it's also important to do some research before you sign up for your school.
Yes.
So,
you know, do your research. You know, there's a reason why we're always trying to market and get our, you know, information out there about how good we are and stuff. Not just to openly brag, but just to help people make decisions.
Right.
Because you will do yourself such a disservice going to a bad place, because it's so hard to figure out like what's what. By the time you do, you've already wasted that time. You'll never get it back.
I mean, you also make friends with everybody there, so that makes it hard.
I mean,
That
it's
makes
hard
it
to
very
leave.
hard.
Yeah, if you're there for a long time, but
Yeah.
if you don't realize that you've been there for 3-4 years, like, man, it's hard to leave.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think we're talking about the emotional aspect of it, but if we're just talking about the actual mechanics, don't you just call up the billing company and tell them to cancel your membership? I think.
Are you saying like how to engage the person who you would have to go through to like
I would
leave
just
your
tell
team?
the coach that you're leaving. I mean, I'm a proponent of just being a man about the whole thing, quote unquote, and just say, hey, I don't think this is the training environment for me. I don't like X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to be canceling my membership. And I think that being stand up about it is fine. I mean, clearly, if the coach is a jerk about it, then again, it just reinforces why you probably shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, you know, you got to be a stand-up person about it.
Thank you.
But you know, this falls in line with like one of the first things we said is communication. You have to address this, you know, and whether you're going to leave for a toxic reason, whatever, you still owe it to yourself and the school to you know, let them know why you're leaving. You know, I'm a huge proponent in addressing things. I don't like when folks just like leave in the middle of the night, you know, exodus type of things. I just think it's very silly to do in this day and age. Yeah, it's low character, and we're trained in martial arts, you know. I mean, it's not super traditional martial arts or anything like that, but there is something to be said for those aspects and characteristics and qualities of people. So, like, hold yourself to that standard at least, you know, and communicate and let them know what's going on, how you're feeling, and why you're doing what you're doing.
And if the instructor blows you off,
then you're more that even like reaffirms your decision, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's like, yeah,
Just
exactly why I'm quitting.
yeah,
Right?
you know.
I think the other thing is that he used the word loyalty. So I think that goes into sort of what Keith was saying, where he was saying that everybody has a little bit of a different situation. So like, maybe we just use the word relationship. So if you just have a relationship where it's like, I pay a monthly membership to attend jiu-jitsu class, and that's what I do. There's no real issue there, right?
Yeah.
Now you start getting into things like, Well, I've been training for free for, 2 years, and
Right.
every time that I compete, my coach flies with me out there, and I don't pay for him to come with me. And then that relationship is a little bit different
Yeah,
than the
sure.
first relationship.
Yeah.
So there
The
is a
first
lot of,
relationship's like purely transactional.
right.
You know?
So there is a little bit of there's a little bit of nuance, and everybody's situation is going to be a little
that's
bit
why
different.
It's a little bit different each time. Yeah, because if you're, just to add on to what you just said there, if you are flying, you have the coach flying with you to tournaments, paying for your tournaments, maybe sometimes even paying for your airfare, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna go to this other school with peace, and then you're kind of an ingrate, to be honest, to be perfectly blunt, and again, everything for me is just kind of staying high character. So I think that would be a low character way of doing something.
I think you should clarify
What is the terms of the relationship?
yeah, what is the relationship? It should be sort of, people should be clear on what the terms of the relationship are.
Yeah.
So, next question. Should I work on what I'm bad at, or should I work on what I enjoy? So this was a tricky question because they didn't say good. They said, should I work on what I'm bad at, or should I work on what I enjoy?
This is a good question. I'm gonna run with it. Master Julie's right. This person's not saying, should I work on what I'm bad at, or should I continue to focus on what I'm good at? So what you enjoy. So, number one, you should always work on, the things that your shortcomings, the things that you're not so good at, things that you're bad at. You should also be sharpening up the things that you're good at, and then, to this person saying that the things that they like, this thing that they like, they might not necessarily be good at. However, if you like it, you can eventually become good at it, So a lot of times when you're learning moves, they feel super foreign because they have like 18-month learning curves sometimes on some of these moves, 16 weeks. So it's not gonna feel good. A lot of times the coach is gonna say, how does that feel? And you're gonna say, not great. And he's like, really? It looks good. It doesn't feel good just because you're learning it for the first time. However, you might have like a natural affinity towards that move, and you're like, I actually like this. So I would say if you're ever feeling like, you're just kind of picking up a move and you're starting to really like it, run with that a little bit. And training is all about like the ebbs and the flows and riding the waves. It's so long. It's like a lifelong pursuit. So. This is a really general question, or a general answer, and it feels like a cop-out, but, I do think that a lot of time should be spent on, I would say that you should spend more time, on the things that you are feeling good with, and that you are, that is part of your main game, especially in the beginning, just so you can really solidify that, and after the years goes by, you'll have some semblance of like an actual put together type of game that you've built over the years because you have worked on the moves that you're already good at, and you have really focused and drilled into the things that you're taking a liking to, and then, you're still working on the things that you're not so good at, and then further down the road, you can really start to hone in on those things that you're not so good at, and make those kind of some things that you might even start doing more often,
Yeah, I would say that I think that I agree with all that, and I think that it's actually really important. A lot of people think that they always have to work on the things that they're bad at, but actually you have to spend a lot of time working on the things that you're good at, because you have to keep them sword sharp, but you'll find that you're constantly adding to the stuff that you're already good at. Maybe a slightly different variation, or a slightly different, or a move that links to that move. So you want to constantly be building, almost like the 80-20 rule, like spend 80% of the time focusing on the 20% of the things that give you the most success, right? So you want to kind of keep working on the things you're good at, and hopefully you like the things that you're good at. Now, when you say like, it makes me think maybe you're thinking like, can I just do random stuff? I'm like, I don't think that you should just, spend a lot of time doing random stuff. However, if you are getting bored because the things that you're good at just happen, maybe that isn't what you like, and maybe the stuff that you're not good at that you have to work on is also not really what you like. Is it okay to sometimes drill random stuff to keep your mind happy and kind of sharp? Yeah, for sure. Like if you need a break and you want to drill something else, you know, because you want to again, we always want to go back, you want to love your training. So it's okay, but you definitely, when you're doing your focused training, which, you know, you're trying to get better, you're not getting better doing just being random, you're getting better focusing. And I think that you should spend a large portion of your time on the stuff that you're good at. And of course, but 20% of the time you still got to work on, escapes and stuff that, that we just need to.
And I'm talking about moves too, not to cut you off, but like some things that are non-negotiable is drilling, if you're saying that like, well, I just like to spar, so I want to do that, and I'm bad at drilling, drill the moves that you like, but you still got to drill, even if you don't like drilling. I hate drilling, but it's, so, there's all different ways that you can drill. You don't have to do 1 3-hour thing, so it's just non-negotiable, so you do have to drill. But you can drill the things that you like, and if that's what you're talking about, that you like to drill those things, I would say that, that's okay.
Yeah, I would say even in sparring, if he's talking about sparring, I mean, you still want to not only do the moves that you like, you want to, you want to work on everything. So in the room when we're training, it's not a match. It's not like you're going to a tournament. You have to do your A game all the time. So you should be playing with stuff and figuring stuff out and really building.
I think the wording of good, bad, it's like they used enjoy. Those are different words. I would use what do I need and what do I enjoy, and those are different questions.
Right.
Yeah. Anytime you're learning a move and you start to feel like a natural, like it's fitting into your thing, then you found something.
I think it's important that you want the thing that you enjoy to actually work. So I think, and you have to train it enough that you actually become good at it. I'm just thinking about, remember the student, we won't say his name, but remember a long time ago, there was that kid and he was like a new white belt and all he wanted to do was worm guard.
Yes.
But he wouldn't win any competitions.
Takedowns and worm guard, those are the two things that he wanted to do.
And he would always lose, but he insisted, and he did not want to, he did not want to work on quote unquote fundamentals. He always wanted to do worm guard, because that's what he enjoyed. And that was, he said, I enjoy doing this. And that would drive me crazy, because I would always be like,
great to bring that up.
I would be like, man, please just do like armbar. Like, let's just make sure you can do an armbar or you can do a triangle. Like, I want you to do that, because what you're doing isn't working. I see you going out there, you're spending money to compete, you keep trying to do these things, but it's not working because your other skill sets aren't there. So we need to work on the other skill sets.
Have the foundation.
Yeah, right. So, definitely work on what you need, and hopefully what you need, you have to find parts of that you enjoy.
Right.
So, cool. That's it. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.